Hello, Andrew. Hello, hello. Should I go make tea? Should I drink tea after a Coke? You know what? Maybe I can get tea, but not the caffeinated one. Maybe that's what I should do. Hello, hello, fellow YouTube watcher. Okay, I'll go make tea. Give me a few minutes. Or AFK 10 minutes, and yeah, let's do the usual 2 minute start. I'll be right back. Hello. Hello, Outcross. Crypto Code. Hello, everybody. I lied. Naughty. I changed my mind. I'm trying something else. I have water with me. You know what? It's getting hot. We're getting to summer, so um hey, Rock Rager. Hello. So that's how we're gonna play it. That is how we're gonna play it. Okay. So what's going on here? I don't have precise list. Well, I didn't write down a precise list of things that I'm going to do today. But I have a general idea of what I maybe want to try to do. The thing is, I didn't investigate these ideas much, so it might be that I take a look at it and then I realize, you know what, for whatever reason, maybe it's not a good idea to do this after all. So, um, that's kind of it. Give me a sec. There we go. Okay. So I hope everybody is doing fine. I hope that you're trying Zig 016 and then you're not encountering too many issues. Although I suspect that there are good chances that you are encountering issues here and there because a lot of things have changed in 016. So there's a lot of breakage kind of everywhere. So where do we start? I think we start here. We start at Translate C. I open a couple issues. And here Rexu pointed out. So we did try this on stream. Like I made this report on stream where I made a repro. We tested this also with Zine. That we're unable to find these sub framework nested inside of core services. And Vexu replied that link framework needs to be added to build translator.zig. So we should take a look at what that means. My hope is that this strictly means, and for people who were here, maybe you will remember, that the translator had like a higher level API, and then you could access the module, and then you could do things to the module, or you could do things to the outer API. And linking frameworks was not available in the outer API, so we assumed that it wasn't necessary for that layer to be aware of that. So the nice thing is that we looked at the implementations of those functions, and they were like super thin. They were like 2 lines of code. So hopefully, this means that if Becca's comment doesn't leave anything out, so if this is all there is to it, then it's a 4-line PR to fix this problem. Let's go try. Maybe it's not going to work. Maybe it will, because I don't know how the whole translate C stuff works. But, well, I mean, you got to start somewhere to learn, right? So let's see. Seems like the core team is on a roll with new proposals and accepted all proposals. Did something change? What's happening is that there have been now a few days where there's a call with Andrew, and you jump in the call with Andrew, and it's mostly Andrew and Matt. But then occasionally I also join, and so same with Jacob and Alex. And so they just go through proposals one after another. They close the ones that they don't like. They accept the ones that they do like. They went also through some of my very, very old proposals, which are kind of cringe. Nowadays, like we did also with me present, and like my old proposals were not great. Let's just put it that way. That being said, we did go over deprecated again, and we all agreed that it would be good to have deprecated. The problem with at deprecated is that with the semantics that Andrew suggested, the thing is non-trivial to make, um, and so it's not going to happen tomorrow. But everybody seems to be still on board with the idea that deprecated is useful. I personally also believe that if it turns out that with the given semantics is a little bit too, it's not worth the complexity, let's say, I think it would still be worth having a weaker version of add deprecated. My leader works pretty well with the deprecated comments. Rocco Rager, I don't know if you read the proposal, but if you haven't, I invite you to read it, especially read the changes that Andrew suggests. That version of deprecated would be super sweet. And I would argue that again, I don't know the details of how your linter setup works, but I would argue that no linter would be able to be nearly as good. Like personally, I love those semantics because they take care of the nuance of different people caring about deprecation in different ways. Whether you are the library author, whether you are a user of the library, actually a direct user of the library, versus being an indirect user of the library. So that stuff was accounted for pretty well, in my opinion, with the adjustments that Andrew proposed, and I've personally never seen a deprecated system work that way in a programming language, and I think it would be like a killer feature. Oh yeah, yesterday there was a long discussion about vector having a len field. Yeah. So what else is interesting there? By the way, this is not set in stone whatsoever. But I was bitching in one of those calls about not having any val and instead using some other syntax. The syntax that would, I think right now is being considered is this function who x colon underscore. So the idea is that instead of any type or any val, you use underscore. The reason being, and this is my pet peeve, any something in Zig means type erasure always, except with any type. Any opaque is a type erased pointer. Yeah, that would be the turbo but operator in Zig. I don't know. So any opaque is a type erased pointer. Any error is a type erased error. I don't know if this is gonna be a thing anymore, but if you remember, any frame was a type erased async frame. So all the any's are about type erasure, while any type is essentially the opposite. Any type is about generics, which is the exact opposite of type erasure. So how does it work with the removal of type of? I don't think that that's going to happen. That is another proposal that Andrew made, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know, it might, but the problem with that proposal, with Andrew's proposal, is that it makes a few things that you currently can do, just trivially, like you just do const foo equals at type of whatever bar. And now if you want to obtain the same result, you kind of have to do gymnastics to get there. And I don't know, that at least to me seems like functional programming bullshit that doesn't belong in Zig. So there's that. What else? So, and by the way, so going back to the underscore thing, I don't know if the underscore thing is gonna be accepted. Um, but Yeah, but then if you also want to do a peer type resolution, that also becomes cringe. Like you can see in the proposal that there are some examples of things that right now are like trivial. Sorry, you're right. This was not a great example. This was not a great example. I just meant to say that there are some things where it's trivial right now. They become less trivial once you implement this. Also, in that freaking proposal, people are instantly going to they went instantly into full parametric polymorphism, which is not going to happen. So my prediction is that that proposal will just be closed. Like Andrew made it, Andrew's going to close it, and nothing's going to come out of it. And most of the discussion in there is just people uh, wasting tokens. I don't know if there's any AI fueled activity in there, but if there is, they are 100% wasting tokens. But yeah, yeah, like these and these are mutually exclusive, and I don't see this happening very likely. I don't know. Do you guys like the turbo bot? But anyway, my pet peeve is I would hate to have to go to like hold a Zig workshop where people are trying to wrap their head around how Zig works and maybe some concepts there are new to them because they come from an ecosystem where they don't have these tools normally. Like if you're a Python programmer, do you know what type erasure is? I don't think you do. I don't think that Python has type erasure. Yeah, it definitely does not have type erasure. And I don't think there even is um a similar concept. You know what? Maybe now that now that there is typing information, like typing annotations in Python, maybe there is a concept of type erasure. I guess. Okay. I guess that the type erasure in an object-oriented dynamic programming language, the closest concept to type erasure is upcasting to object. I guess that would be the closest concept. Well, in any case, um, it's not a thing that you worry about much at the very least in those ecosystems. And so I would hate to have to go to a class of people and say, yeah, so whenever you see any something that is type erasure, except for this one case where the any type, any val, whatever, actually happens to be the exact opposite. That's the whole thing. Okay. We're going to translate C. We're pulling already up to date. Okay. We are editing build translator. Oh yeah, so this is my boy. So this guy needs link framework. Okay, so copy this. Here we start talking about frameworks. So let's do this. Lib is it's just a name, right? Interesting. Why does none of these other APIs accept this one accepts a name? Okay, so you know what? Instead of lib, let's call it name to be consistent. Actually, there we go. Okay, so mod dot link framework. Oh, it needs options. So we need to accept also options. Link framework options are not defined in there. Where the heck are those defined? Build module. If there would be an SCD meta peer type resolution. Yeah, that's fine. But here's the problem. How do you implement it? There are only two options. One is like, how do you implement this function? There are two options. One is that the entire peer type resolution logic is replicated in userland code with all the, the ifs and switches, and then you have to make sure that you keep that in sync with what the compiler does internally. So with the code that exists in, I presume, SEMA. Or alternatively, you have some, built-in that does that for you. But then if you have a built-in that does that for you, we're back to the original place. So that we were before. Essentially, you have reinvented type of essentially, or some slight variation of that. So there's that. Okay, so we link framework, and now we need presumably to append an argument to ROCC. Now, ROCC, I believe it's a C compiler, so I'm assuming has the same flags that Clang has. I think it's like just dash framework. And then name. That being said, I have no idea if this is correct or not. I'm making this up on the spot. Argument to framework is missing. It's for the one value. Sounds good to me. Um, links framework name to T mode and exposes its headers to translate C. So much spam on the issue list today. Really? We're receiving spam issues? Oh my fucking god. What is happening here? Can you nuke them? You can close them. Can you not delete them? Wait. Are you saying you're saying that you have to go in here to delete them? Wait. There is no delete button? Well, at least we can close them. Although we should also ban these users. You know what? I've never banned somebody on Codeberg. How do you ban? Okay, so this is the user. Then you go into settings. Oh, you know what? I removed myself from being an admin, and I think I might not have the ability to ban people because of that. Codeberg is very well, at least I can close them. Codeberg is very not very granular with I think I pressed the button, but I do not see any feedback. Oh no. Oh no. I'm pressing the button again. I press the button. Any refreshed? Nothing has changed. Let's try again. Close. Yeah, people are experiencing issues. You know what? It tends to happen that whenever something quote unquote controversial happens, whenever there is something where people have any kind of strong opinion about, um then shit like this happens afterwards. I mean, it happens also at random, but yeah. Hmm. 22.18.2. Is it on Codeberg? I think not, right? Uh, it's on GitHub. Yeah, it's still a 2 something. Oops. Remove peer type resolution from the language. So OPT, if B, null, else 123 s 32. Okay, so this is an optional U32. When it's called a runtime, it's peer type resolution, null in U32, which peer resolve to optional U32. So OPT has type optional 32. Okay. However, if f is called at comp time, PTR is not used. I see. This is resolved statically. So, well, depending on the value of b, this will be either resolved to null or 32. Oh, that is interesting, actually. That would be, would that result in an untyped null? How does it work? Let's see. PTR is not used because the non-taken branch of the first condition is not evaluated, right? So it's either type.null, untyped null, or actually, what do we call it? Like virgin null, pure null. Yeah, depending on content known, blah, blah, blah. In the U32 case, this causes the second if statement to emit a compile error. That is indeed true. That is indeed true. Huh. Because U32 is not an optional type. Yeah. So I'm guessing that the proposal is to just force people to pin down to do peer type resolution in their head. So remove peer type resolution from the language. Expressions combining peers emit a compile error if all peers are not of the same type, excluding no return peers. Um, Binary operators using PTR are unchanged. Type of accepts only one operand. Switch on a tagged union requires all payloads to have the same type. Making this proposal a reversal of when multiple union fields share a body, Yes, which prong use appear type resolution typecast rather than requiring identical types? Whew. Let's see. Yeah, so it's explicit annotation. So let's see. Result types, catch or else, range integers, counter proposal, restrict PTR to numeric types. Let's see what Scott has to say. Equality is type resolution doesn't play nicely with using the collators from in overloading. Foo is an enum that has foo in it, and then it has a bar decal in it, which equates to foo. So you do f foo is dot bar, that works. Then here you're saying is f equal to dot foo? Yes. PTR. Oh, because this is an untyped label that gets resolved to foo, but this one fails. No field name bar in enum playful. Who? Okay, so there's a few tiny details that one needs to keep in mind as usual. Let's see. I came in so happy because I heard Andrew say Zig is planning matrices for shader programming and wanted to ask if it was also planned to support math operations on them. I believe so, but the idea is that language level support is going to be essentially um, tailored to what SPIR-V does. So my understanding is that you should not expect the built-in types to be what you would necessarily want to use as general purpose vectors and matrices. And instead, those are going to be, I mean, you did mention it yourself, so you're probably already well aware of this, just pointing it out for everybody else at the very least. Um, yeah, those built-in types are meant to give you access to the the GPU features that SPIR-V exposes. Yeah. So like I don't know exactly. I don't do much shader programming. I've done it like once in my life. So I don't know if if SPIR-V gives you I don't know dot product, then you're gonna get dot product. If SPIR-V does not give you dot product, then you're not getting dot product. As a generic example. Okay, I think we should try this bad boy. Oh, this is not a link library. This is link framework. Unused function parameter. True. This goes here. How does this interact with the flag though? Weekend needed. Are you Indian? I am not. Does any of these options show up in a CLI invocation of a compiler? Do you write on the CLI that the framework is weak or needed? You know what? The answer is I don't know. At least we have a starting point. Let's test this bad boy. So how do we test this bad boy? We go into the repro core services repro. Let's see if Zig build fails as expected. It might not because I don't remember if I have 0.16. Oh, it does. Okay. It does. Okay, perfect. Now, fork. Let's use our translate C fork. Let's see if anything changes. Nothing changes. uh, nothing seems to change. So Dash framework does not seem to have done us much good. You know what? I think we should investigate the CLI arguments of ROCC a little bit. Technically, we could do that by cloning it, but maybe we can do the poor man version of that. So we go into Zig package and we go into arrow and we snoop around in here. Oh, here's the problem. I should tell this to Neuroside. This directory is in git ignore. So because it's in git ignore, it none of the files show up. And I think that essentially what Neurosite should do is that when the current working directory is a git ignored directory, then it should be excluded. You should still show what's in there anyway. Uh, so I mean, actually, I expected this to be more complicated. So where is the CLI? I mean, our starting point is main, right? So let's see. Diagnostics, compilation, driver toolchain, driver.main. Out of memory, fatal error, cancelled. Okay, fast exit. So these are our arguments. They go into driver main. Go to definition. Oh no, ZLS? You too? You too, they're doing this to me? Uh, where's the driver? Driver the Zig? Under arrow. Okay. And here we have the arguments. And here we have parse args. And there we go. Here we have the help menu. Let's see. Preprocessor options. Compile options. Darwin target variant triple. Apple KEXT. Have this, of that. I quote iSystem. iFramework. Link options. Well, I am starting to suspect. I'm starting to suspect that there is no framework flag. I mean, it's not listed in here. Or you know what? Maybe I missed it. There's iframework -f add directory to macOS my framework search path. I mean, it would be weird though for these options to be here and not the ability to link a framework. Starts with -f. Expected argument after -f. So you're saying that instead of dash framework, it's dash uppercase F? I that is not how I read this. That is not how I read that though. Kind framework kind includes append. Hmm. I mean, we can try. It did also not complain about um, the argument. Yeah, this does not do. This does not do it. Actually, yeah, you know what? We already had the uppercase F thing. Yeah, so I did correctly understand that this is not exposes the framework path to both translate C and to T mode. So this is more complicated than I assumed. I mean that is why I wasn't sure that I was able to do this, because this is not a lot to go off of if you don't know anything. So name framework needs to be added to build translator.zig. The problem is what should that entail? I assume that looking at the other functions, it just entailed adding a CLI argument to arrow. The problem is that this does not seem to be. Oh no, you know what? Sorry. Let me take everything back. I'm a complete moron. I did add this, sure, but then when you test it, oh my god, when you test it, you have to use the thing correctly. So you don't do t.mod, you do t.linkFramework. If you don't do this, then you're not testing the thing that you changed, obviously. There we go. Expected type lazy path. Oh shit. Do you add a name then? Add arg t.run add arg. Add flag, append include flag. Okay, let me see what does this does. Append include arg. Add flag. Oh, okay. So f foo, f no foo defines macro. Okay, so I think we just want run.add arg. Oh my god, I was definitely doing this wrong. So it's t.run.add arg. and args in our case, I think. There you go. Okay. Let's see where that gets us. Unable to add source file core services file not found. Cool. So I like this error. We actually have influenced something. This is taking core services as a separate argument. Um, so so what is happening to Dash framework? Because so what's happening is that somehow we are eating Dash framework. We are not eating the core services argument. We're leaving it there, which then gets picked up as a source file, which does not exist, understandably. Um, who's eating Dash framework and not complaining about it? You know what? I think it's time to clone Arrow. I think it's time to clone Arrow locally and if necessary, fork it as well. Okay, so this at this point can stay as is. We know that this is how it should be. Travis Starlock. Spontaneous post increment. Okay. Hello. So let's go in here. Finally, we are able to navigate files. We were looking at driver.zig. Actually, you know what? Let's just search for Dash framework anywhere. Terminated exit code 2. What? Oh my god, what is the syntax, boy? Framework. Oh no, what is going on? Bro, I just want to search for this verbatim. What is a man supposed to do? Yeah, iFramework. Okay, there's not a lot of solutions. Combination of Zig has framework, system framework, blah blah blah. Include kind, scene frameworks. Check framework there. Can you add more detailed docs for Ziggylang? Yeah, I should. Sorry. Right now, Ziggy is a kind of in between state because I 016 Zig 016 had a bunch of breaking changes, and I did not do a good job updating Ziggy because I was racing to update Zine and all the dependencies because we needed new Zine for the website. But I was also getting sick as I was doing this work, so I just essentially barely managed to just unblock the Zig website, and now Ziggy is kind of it also has some in progress work that I have yet to finish. So, long story short, it's actually good that it does not have the tail docs right now because it is kind of a little bit broken. That being said, there are docs on the website. And if your problem is that you don't know how to use it from Zig itself, what is Ziggy? It's this. You go to ziggy-lang.org and you can see it's a data serialization language that is kind of meant to be like JavaScript except um, slightly more expressive because there are some pet peeves that I have with JavaScript that I wanted to fix. It's I would say it's a pretty decent project. Like I think that it is something that you could consider using. I mean, obviously, it's hard to beat the fact that everybody speaks JSON everywhere, so you will lose that convenience, obviously. But I think it is like compelling enough, I think, project that might be worth taking a look at. That being said, while I am really serious with about it, right now it suffered a little bit for the 016 breakages, and as I was saying, the stuff that I have some work in progress stuff that I have yet to get to a satisfactory point. So right now it's kind of a mixed bag. So long story short, think of it as an alpha project because that's what it is. Um, but I am serious about it. I mean, I have an LSP for it. I have grammars. I have a lot of things. So I wish Zon had deco literals. Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it be? Um, Also, here's another thing that hello Calder. Here's one last nice thing about Ziggy. Ziggy is a JSON superset. So when you have a JSON file, that JSON file you can load as a Ziggy file, and it's just a Ziggy document where everything is what we call a dictionary. So a dictionary is a key value data structure where the keys don't follow any specific schema. Uh, while instead with Ziggy, generally what you want to do is use different syntax to differentiate between when a thing is a dictionary, like it's like a hash map where the keys are just like up to the user and the application is not meant to really know what those are supposed to be, versus when a given data structure is actually instead meant to follow a schema and where keys have semantic meaning for the program. So here in this example, the idea is that this is a message where ID, time, payload are part of a schema. Like the top level message has to have these fields. Or I don't know, maybe they're optional, but the point is that these have special meaning. They mean something. Another thing that it does is that it has tagged unions. So in JSON, expressing tagged unions is always cringe. And it's particularly like hostile to efficient parsing if you're using a lower level language like Zig, because you like if you ever had to write code that tries to parse a JSON file manually without heap allocation, whenever you have something that resembles a tagged union, it does not look good. Every solution has a big set of downsides, in my opinion. So here we have syntax for essentially expressing tagged unions. So here we're saying the payload is a command, but the payload could also be something else that is not a command. If it is a command, then you see the tag here, you know that it is a command, and that tells you what you're supposed to expect in here. And here in extra, you can see that this is an example of, so command as well follows a schema because it's typed, but then extra, you can see that is a dictionary. So it's key value pairs that do not have semantic meaning for the system that handles these messages, and they're kind of like pass through in a sense, like metadata. And at the same time, you can see that this is using JSON syntax. So when you load a JSON file, it's a Ziggy dictionary, and then you can upgrade it to better syntax if you want. So like the idea is that you can use the same library just to it's a superset of JSON. Long story short, that's it. Lastly, it has a schema language, and the schema language is not crap like JSON schema. Of all the complaints that I have about JSON, I think my biggest one is JSON schema. It is just so unreadable that it's not meant for human consumption. Like, you can take a JSON schema, feed it to a tool, and have the tool help you, making sure that you get the JSON right. But boy, is it unreadable, uneditable by humans. It's just garbage. So Ziggy has its own schema language, which is not like a Ziggy document with fancy syntax. And most importantly, the Ziggy schema language puts some strong restrictions on what it is that you can express in a schema. Another issue with JSON schema is that they give you like a bajillion different tools to come up with the most absurdly stupid schemas possible, where, like, you say, yeah, this JSON object needs to have these 3 fields, and then it can have these other fields, but only if they match a regular expression. Like, literally, like, if you take a look at the JSON schema, like here I have an example of a crappy one in the docs. It is insane. Like, it has references. It has additional properties, false pattern properties, these definition. Like, it's insane. It is absolutely insane. So Ziggy schema only allows you to create a schema for stuff that is like reasonable. For example, in JSON schema, you can say this property can only be a number or a list of numbers. So it allows you to essentially say that a field can be 2 different types. I hate this. So if you want to do the same with Ziggy, you can't. Or rather, to do the same with Ziggy, you are forced to turn that into a tagged union. You say this field is a tagged union. It has 2 cases. Case A has a number as a payload. Case B has an array of numbers as a payload, and you can do it. But then you always have the union tag to disambiguate, and you do not have this weirdo thing where types get swapped in and out willy-nilly. So these are the general ideas around Ziggy. That being said, again, alpha project. Ziggy is used by Zine, so it's not like how can I say, completely up in the air, but it has suffered the 0.16 transition. So please be a little bit patient about it. So we do have code for including frameworks. Look, we have framework lookup. So Arrow does have code for this. How do we get here? I guess we can start taking a look at these lines and then work our way backwards. Do you have a binary version of Ziggy planned? Yeah, I also had plans for that as well. So the one thing about Ziggy is also that it restricts text-based Ziggy documents to be up to 4 gigabytes in size. So you cannot make a Ziggy document that is bigger than 4 gigabytes with the idea. Well, this is done partially because so that I can use U32 indices when parsing, which is convenient and, reduces memory usage, makes it just faster and better overall. And also because, again, like, do you want to receive a 4 gigabyte JSON file? You don't. Generally speaking, if you're starting to get near that size, you would prefer to have a file format that is more efficient to deal with than a JSON document. So the same applies to Ziggy as well. And I do plan to have a binary format. That being said, based on my experience with Awebo, where I do have a binary communication protocol between client and server that a very basic one that we use. I don't know yet exactly how a Ziggy binary format should look like, because also another aspect that I do want to explore with Ziggy is this idea of having versioned schemas. Right now, schemas in Ziggy do not have the concept of versioning, but I do want to add the concept of versioning. And I want to add the idea that you can have a tool that to which you say, look, um, you invoke the tool, you pass in a path to the old schema, a path to the new schema, and the thing tells you whether the schema upgrade is a patch, minor, or major version change. And I think that that also, like how this whole thing works, depends also on how you design um, the binary schema. Because I would imagine that versioning would still be irrelevant for the text format, but I think it would be even more critical for the binary version. It would be nice to be able to easily translate textual to binary. I mean, once we figure out what the binary stuff should look like, obviously the Ziggy CLI will be able to do that. You know what? Okay, this is the last thing I'm going to say about Ziggy. Another thing that Ziggy does, which I find insane that JSON does not do, is the idea of having one CLI tool that does all the things that you need to do. So, for example, now right now we have like when you build the Ziggy CLI tool, you get formatting, you get querying, you get schema checking, you get format conversion, you get the LSP. And if you have the binary thing, then you would also have the ability to convert from binary Ziggy to textual Ziggy and vice versa. Um, uh, uh, Fair warning though, be aware that this is not complete yet. So like formatting exists. I think that the tip of master branch, main branch right now is broken because I think I got some details wrong when upgrading to 0.16. So, um, like if you want to test this out, the best working version right now is probably the last commit that works with Zig 0.15. Be aware of this. That being said, bugs aside, query is not implemented yet. Convert is partially implemented. I only have it implemented for JSON, I think. Maybe YAML, and I think I regress YAML in 0.16. So there is work to do to get Ziggy all the way there. But yeah, I do want to do. I do plan to do this as well. So I think it's a reasonable project. It makes sense. Like it makes a compelling case. Um, it just requires much more work, and to be clear, I did already put a bunch of work in it. Like the original design of Ziggy was different. I already iterated on it seriously once, and I had to change the syntax a lot. Like originally, we didn't have tagged unions this way. They worked in a different way that I just could not make work nicely. Um, so long story short, I have put a good amount of time designing it, and I feel like that the design of the language is reaching a fairly mature point. So I don't expect it to change much compared to where it is now, especially Ziggy. Like the schema, maybe there might be some changes, although not much. But the implementation still requires some more work. Check framework there. For an include like foo/bar.h, search in framework there slash foo.framework/headers/bar.h. Okay, go to references. So this function, which does the framework header search, is called only here. It looks at an include and it says, is this include a framework? Okay. Include.kind is framework. Compilation search path.items. Find include. Find include is a struct. It has run. Compilation. So you pass in a compilation. Yeah. It looks at search path items. Source kind. And then if it is framework. So search path allocated into GPA, but keys are externally managed. Okay, search path. How do we put stuff into search path from the CLI? So search path seems to be only populated. You know what? I did go to references, which obviously gives me references in this document, which might or might not be good enough. Hello, Quint. Um, hmm. Here's an append. There we go. Add to search path. Who's calling add to search path? So we're calling it here. Init search path. These are all called from init search path. Okay, who calls init search path? Nobody from here, but from the outside, I think some will. Oh, driver sounds interesting and delicious. I took a bit of time to figure out how to use Super HTML as a templating language, but wasn't able to figure out it in the end, just using as editor format for now instead. It's not too bad. If you want an example of how to use Super HTML for templating, look at the tests. Super HTML has tests where you see how I create a evaluation context for Super HTML to exist in. Those are those are like you have to fish them from tests, but those are pretty straightforward. So let me see if I can show you. Uh, so the abstraction tower is this. We start with the source code, obviously, then we parse it, and so you have a Super HTML AST. Then there's this thing called a template. A template is an AST plus the extra runtime state of evaluating a template. Then, since Super HTML allows you to extend other templates, when you have template A and template B and they reference one another, once you collect those, they all slot into a virtual machine. So you have the Super HTML virtual machine that orchestrates evaluation of templates and jumps from evaluating one template to another depending on how they interact with one another. And then each template contains the AST. Going back down. So VM is your like tip of the iceberg. And does it have tests in here? Of course, it fucking doesn't. It does in fuzz though. Fuzzing must have. Yeah, so there we go. Wait, is this stuff that I committed or not? Oh shit, you know what? I was fucking with this. So this might or might not be good. Oh, I made it sound easy. Maybe it's not as easy as I made it sound, huh? um, I think did I commit this? I did not. Okay, let me take a look at what's online. Oh no, we're just testing the Steam here. I think I definitely had this more complete. I think the problem is that I wanted to remove the old fuzzing stuff and I nuked this whole thing. Um, Let me go back to a few comments before I nuke the fuzzing stuff. Like, let's look at this commit. I mean, you know what? I understand that if you have to find the right commit, etc., then it's obviously not something that you're supposed to be able to do. But yeah, generator. Oh, did they already nuke fuzzing in this commit? Nah, that surprises me. I think I nuked fuzzing in the upgrade to 016. I think that this comment, I really think that this comment should have it. Maybe it was just me not seeing it. Source, let's see, CLI, CSS, generator, HTML. Uh, I think we had, I think we had dedicated files for fuzzing though. Yeah, this is the generator. Let me take a look at the VM file then. Yeah, this one, this still does not contain that. I might be wrong. I might have never written fuzzing code that involves the full VM. I might have never fuzzed the full VM. But still, you know what? The problem is that I cannot find the fuzzing infrastructure. I think it just got removed earlier. Let me go back a few commits. Because for fuzzing with AFL, you need a dedicated file, and those files were just not there. Okay, let's take a look at the comments that did mention fuzzing. Add support for multiple tabs in the generator. Okay, fine. Where's the fuzzing infrastructure though? Also sit there. Never mind. I think I've always been bad at this. I think I've always been bad at this. I am sorry. Yeah, I never. I need to do it. I guess it goes on my pile of to dos. Apologies. Okay. In the meantime, let's figure out what happens here. So this is being called from driver. That sounds. Oh, this is the driver invocation. Okay, this seems nice. Oh, from main, and that comes from D includes items. The verbose search path. So here we have the arguments. Here we parse the arguments, and we do pass D. So we want the part of parse args that pumps stuff into includes. which we might, I mean, with this, iframework. So, okay. Uh, I am confused. Is it just dash include that we should do? Add implicit include. Implicit. Why is it implicit? So these appends to includes these flags. These flags do append to include. Dash uppercase F does. Um, dash I framework does. This one is kind framework. This one is kind system framework. We did saw there was an if, and the if was checking for kind being equal to framework, not system framework. Although maybe there was another case that did that, that cared about that. Yeah, there we go. For include type normal include type system framework. Include kind normal or include kind framework. This include kind system framework. This. I guess this is a priority thing. The non-system stuff goes first because it is essentially doing the same thing twice. Okay. Um. Yeah. Normal system and then after. Uh. But what I don't understand is that it seems to me that this is conflating the idea of add this path that contains framework to your search path with add this specific framework because you're linking against it. Although maybe from the compiler perspective, the two things are the same. From the compiler perspective, maybe if I tell you, look, I have a bunch of frameworks in this path, that automatically means that those, oh, okay, I feel like I'm starting to get it. So, from the perspective of the whole compilation process, you need to specify which individual frameworks you plan to link to because the linker needs that information to do linker stuff. But from the perspective of compiling, which means looking at source code and resolving pound sign include references, you do not need to know beforehand which framework you want to link against, because when you see an pound sign include line, the framework name is going to be the first component. You'll see include core services slash something, then you know the core services is the framework. Or rather, you can assume that. I'm guessing that if I read the algorithm that resolves pound sign includes more in detail, I'll see exactly how that works. But I have the vague memory that that is how you discover the specific framework name. So what does this mean here? What does this mean here? Does it mean that it does not matter? No, 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 wait. Okay, so the problem that we are facing is that the problem that we are facing is that we are not resolving ae.h. Actually, I think I can test this. So if I go to the repro and I change it and I don't link core services, what error do I get? Yeah. Okay, I'm starting to get this. So if I don't, even if I don't specify core services, um, the problem is still not finding where core services.h is. We know how to find that. We do find it already. The problem is still that we don't find AE. So the problem is that, or rather, I think there might be multiple ways of solving this, and I don't know what is the right one. But one way for sure is that when we see that you want to link core services, we add the full core services path as an include path. Okay, that is one way of doing it. I don't know if it's the right one, but that is definitely one way of doing it. The problem is, how do we go from just the name to um let's do an iframework. Let's see what happens. Well, let's see what happens if we just do the iframework stuff. So yeah, in translate C, we do this. We just do iframework. This is not a path, unfortunately. Wait, at this point, damn. What does add include art do? Hmm. Yeah, this all deals with lazy paths. Let's take a look again at the CLI flags that ROCC has. Oh, it's in driver. Yeah, the problem is that these are like these are directories. Essentially, what we are missing is you give me the framework name and I add to the include paths, to the search paths, also that thing. Damn. An alternative way would be to know when you are looking uh, at a header file that belongs to a framework, and when you see an import in there, you know that when you search for it, you also need to search recursively inside of it, not just with the normal paths. That is another way of doing it, which would, at least a first approximation, save you from just from having to do link framework at all. Um, but I don't know about that. So 1940. Check framework there. Find include. Also, how do you know what include type is? I think that is another problem. Like, um, there's check framework there. For an include like full bar searching. Oh no, you know what? Full slash bar dot h searching framework there. Full framework bar dot h. I think I need to see where this is in instantiated and or um, made run. Has include. Compilation dot has include. Include type is passed in angle bracket versus quotes. When you run does only search after there. Okay, let's go to references of this. Preprocessor. That makes sense. Handle built-in macro. Has include. Has include next. Is identifier. Has attribute. Has decal spec attribute. Has feature. Has extension. Has built-in. Is target arc. Handle built-in macro. I suspect that has include is not pound sign include. Well, anyway, let's see where we go from here. Include type. Okay, it's quotes, angle brackets. First, next. allows him there. If path is absolute, otherwise allows him there. Only search after there. Yeah, look at these guys. Oh no, wait. So has include is pound sign include. This is pound sign include next. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is pound sign include next, man? Does it plan on having a spec? Yes. And multiple compilers like C++? Is that a good idea? I mean, when you make a language, you don't get to decide that, in the sense that you want to have a spec regardless. You generally don't want one implementation, the official implementation, to be the spec, because even just because as you change the implementation, you might want to change the implementation without changing uh, some specific detail that you want to consider stable. But if you don't even have something to test against, which would be the spec, then you change the implementation, and now you have new semantics. Maybe a tiny, super tiny detail, but now you changed it, and that's just how it is. I guess technically you could say, well, you have unit tests, and unit tests could protect you against that kind of regression, which is fair. Um, but then again, how do you know when a unit test is right or wrong? So in general, having a spec is a good idea. And there are some fields where, if you want to be taken seriously and even just considered, you need to have a spec, understandably. Then from there, um, it's not like you. Mm, like usually what happens is that if that other people want to make another compiler, they just go and make another compiler, and they don't have to coordinate with you. So it is on them if they want to do that or not. So so is it a good idea? It's like, I don't know, man. It's it's up to other people, right? It's not up to us. Like, if your point is the Zig Software Foundation going to maintain multiple competing implementations of the Zig compiler? I don't think so. We're not going to make other implementations, except maybe for something that is, um, like, for example, there are right now our Bootstrap process is convenient for development, but it is not the most rigorous um, Bootstrap process that a third party would like to for us to have, for them to be able to uh, easily bootstrap as a compiler on a new platform. So having, for example, a simplistic, slow, like super slow Zig compiler implemented in C would be nice, because then they could be compile that Zig compiler on their platform and then use that to compile the official Zig compiler. So that way they can bootstrap it. So that would be convenient. That's what I meant, like GCC Clang MSVC. Yeah, but like that's not something that you can control. Like, if Microsoft wanted to make their own C compilers and they made it, and then the GNU people wanted to have a free compiler and they made it, and also you're mentioning these three, but there's a bajillion more, right? Like the GCC was born, I believe, because the previous C compilers were not only multiple implementations, but they were also proprietary, and they wanted money for you to use them. Um, so the fact that we give out the Z compiler for free makes it so that there is less pressure to do that. Um, it's already free and open source, so there's no point of making another one. But if Microsoft tomorrow, like if we need to have a spec eventually, and if at some point Microsoft wants to make their Z compiler implementation, what do you say to them? Like you can if you believe that is a bad idea, you can, I don't know, whine about it in a blog post, but that's it. And usually if people get decide to go down that path, generally speaking, it's because they have a reason to do so. So you know what? Maybe this sounds arbitrary, but I'll give you an example of a different compiler implementation that might make sense. Let's say that right now the Z compiler requires a given amount of memory to be available on the system to be able to compile correctly. So I believe that is something like I think it's below 4 gigabytes, but it is a few gigabytes. Maybe you would like to have and to be clear, it is somewhat memory hungry, even if you're compiling a tiny project. Because it spins up a bunch of threads, for example, and each thread eats some memory. There's like, a few things that the compiler does where it uses memory in order to speed up computation. Obviously, understandably. You have a normal like that's a compiler designed to run on computers that have multiple cores, a bunch of gigabytes of memory, so it makes sense for it to make use of what's available in order to speed up the process of compiling code. But let's say that you would like to have a super tiny Z compiler that you can run on an embedded device. That would be reasonable, and maybe it would be fine for you for that compiler to have some other limitations that our current compiler doesn't have, because you're running on a super tiny environment. So you have to be stingy with memory usage. Your CPU maybe doesn't even run in the gigahertz. It runs maybe in the megahertz. And so if you want to make it feasible to have a compiler that runs on that kind of machine, you need to do some different trade-offs. I'll make up one example. Maybe instead of using 32-bit indices, you decide that you want to use 16-bit indices, so that you halve the amount of memory being used for compiling, the same file, the same project with the two compilers at the very least. So if you do that, which is reasonable, to conclude, that is something that you can get out of a different implementation that the official compiler implementation has no intention of offering, because the main compiler implementation is meant to run primarily on bigger computers. That would be legitimate, and what can you say? That being said, I understand that the whole thing where you have different compilers and have their own special bullshit, and they are like somewhat incompatible, that sucks. I agree. I think we should put an effort. We should do. We should try to make sure that does not happen. In practice, I think that it is a kind of a political thing more than a strictly technical thing. I don't know. We'll see once we get there. It's gonna be a while though. Yeah, I mean, the one reason why C is like this is also because C is like horribly inexpressive compared to Zig. So sorry. So it ended up that over time, all these people independently wanted their own flavor of being able to do a certain thing because it was super important to have it, and so that's why they got their own custom personalizations. I believe also that a good chunk of those over time have been replaced just by a new standard way of doing things. So it is what it is. I think that I don't think that it's going to be the same with Zig regardless. Like obviously, for to make sure that things happen or don't happen, you have to put effort into it. But if I had to guess, I think that this specific situation is an artifact of its time. Um, Software engineering had a certain trajectory in the last 40 years. C had certain characteristics as a language, one of which is having a super weak type system, um, and it did not it wasn't designed to necessarily play well with build pipelines. Like for example, Zig has a built-in build system that also helps a lot. So you don't have to come up with custom extensions if you want to embed a binary file in the program and whatnot, or control sections, etc. So um, I think it's gonna be fine. Whitebox systems, it requires a custom C compiler. What? To compile this project, you need a custom C compiler. But this is not. This is not open source, is it? The project itself is a C compiler. Whitebox is a C compiler. Is it? They instrument your executable while compiling it, but it is not entirely from scratch C compiler, is it? Compatibility, JIT workflow, 10x editor, 4coder, Emacs, Notepad++. It's by the way, the ordering of these things is actually pretty telling. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. I might be wrong. I don't know the details, but it's weird for a debugger. C, C++, Odin, Rust, Zig, ... 100 pages. Oh my god. Yeah, sorry. I don't have the ability to ban people. Do-do-do. Oh my fucking god. Yep. I think we had 500 issues and now it's 3,500. I'm pinging the rest of the core team. What's happening? Internet is happening. That's what's happening. My theory, which might be wrong, I don't have any strong data to support it, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think what's happening is that we published a blog post talking about our policy with regards to AI contributions, and somebody and some script kiddie whose slop AI PR was rejected in the past remembered how angry they were about it, and I guess decided to that it was time for some payback or something like that. So I don't know. An interesting detail is that when we decided to move away from GitHub, I was a little bit worried that if we had just self-hosted Forjo, I think there would have been. I think we would have had to essentially face, this kind of problem. Not necessarily spam. I mean, spam is one example of that, but you can also have people just trying to take down your service by opening a bajillion connections, like essentially doing denial of service one way or another. And I was worried that if we had run our own dedicated instance, that it would have been easier for certain people to just take our services down. Um, and so, yeah, I don't know. It's either that or, well, no, I'm not going to say it. I have a second theory because historically we had also some specific kind of people that um, have some kind of weird tinfoil hat theories about Zig, where they believe in some kind of weird conspiracy. Um, e- Essentially, they believe that. You know what? I'm gonna stop here. In case anybody's thinking that this has anything to do with Rust, I'm not talking about Rust whatsoever. But in any case, we had some example of people like absolutely being insane um, in people coming up with absolutely insane theories about Zig, and I don't know. Maybe that's also some of that. There are a lot of accounts. I do not see the same account name twice in a row. Wow. Yeah, probably. Uh, okay, we were trying to understand how this stuff works. How can you wait? So how can you call is framework on kind? Because you have quote normal system, but then you also have framework and system framework. So all right, because because this is called include, but it is a search path. Okay. So so you're saying you're looking at all the search path and you're saying, is this a framework search path? If so, you have to find you need to look for the header file under the headers directory. Right. But question, is this already split? No, this has not been split yet. This is a path still. Okay. So I think the check framework there needs to do this. I think this needs to be expanded like this. For an include like foo.bar, search in colon this and framework there. Oh shit! But um, so when you see AE, you need to know if the current file there you are in is a framework. So it needs to be something like this: this slash current framework dot framework slash frameworks. Maybe I don't remember if it's also frameworks. In any case, slash foo slash headers dot bar header slash bar dot h. I think that's how it should be. I might be wrong. Yeah, I think this is it. Also, this is /foo.framework. This is what's missing. I don't remember if this directory is like this or not, though, but we can test that. Let's go in here. Yeah, so we are in core services.framework. We do cd frameworks. Why is that a fucking link? And it contains these bad boys. Why is this a link? What happened? Did I misunderstand that? No. Oh, it's versions. Oh, it's versions current frameworks. Okay. Oh my god. What a mess. Are you going to leave it to the Codeberg team? So I am personally not in contact with the Codeberg people. Alex is. So usually what happens is that I think some of this has happened in the past, and then I think that maybe Alex did ask the Codeberg people to help out. I don't know how he solved it, or alternatively. Um. So yeah. So this is correct. So I believe that what I'm saying here is correct. The problem is we don't have this, and to make this happen, you first of all you have to figure out how to make that happen. Second of all, you need to actually make sure that what I'm saying does make sense, because maybe this is easy. This is correct in some cases, and maybe it is not correct in other cases, and so I just do not know. So here's the problem: this function does not have this information, because this function is saying search um find include. Actually, I'm saying that we do not have this information, but I don't know, maybe this guy does have. We have the full compilation, we have the include path, which is the argument passed to run. No, wait a second. Wake up. What are you doing? Oh my god, man. He's making a function that accepts as first parameter compilation. So this is not a method on find include. This is instantiating a find include inside and then passing it around. Okay. Okay. I think that this guy allows him there. I don't know what. So I need to understand what these guys kind of mean, especially this one. Same there sounds important. And either this tells us something about the directory that we are already in. Otherwise, we need to add state that tells us this import where it is being imported from. Right? No. That is one way of doing it. The other one is to correctly include in the search path the ones that we already have slash the linked framework. Okay. Yeah, the other one is just to have that path in here. Let's try. Let us try. So we need this. Starts with dash framework. And these, and this is the problem. Because we need to resolve this to a full path. We cannot put these in under includes. We need something like framework names. We need to collect this stuff in framework names. And then after we have collected all these things, we need to try and see if we can extend a pre-existing framework include path to also include this framework name. So where do we make this post-processing happen? I don't know. Why did I get this autocomplete bullshit, man, from CLS? Okay. So framework names is greater than 0. Also, what's an implicit include? I should probably learn also what's an implicit include. Add implicit include. Find include CLI. Append source. Find include CLI. Find include keyword include. Source generated. What is an implicit include? And we're back here. What is an implicit include? It calls find include, ID keyword include, source generated, and then returns the result of find include. which is a source file, I guess. So I do not think this is something that we care about. I think I wish I knew exactly what that is, what that was, but oh well. I've been playing with GPU kernels in Zig PRV backend, found some bugs. Oh yeah, and fix them in a fork. Should I try to upstream them? Yes, you should. Um, Generally speaking, I would say yes, you should. I think that there's also other people who would like to work on the PRV stuff, and you're not the only one. And I think that um, I think Andrew recently talked with Mason, who makes video games, so he is interested in this stuff. Also, because Mason is, I believe, interested also in working on the design of matrix types in the language, which are tied to the SPIR-V specification. So I think that if Mason starts working on this stuff, then you should expect that your PR is going to be looked at sooner than later. Keep in mind, there's a few ifs in front of what I just said, so they need to all check out for the final close to actually kick in. But yeah, I was looking at IO condition and it allows to sleep using mutex. Is it possible to sleep on a read write lock in shared mode? I have genuinely no idea. Sorry. I know that normally a condition works with a mutex, but I don't know if the interaction with a read write lock makes sense. So D includes dot items. So essentially what we want to do is for each include, we want to check if it is the one that contains um, this framework. I am still not 100% convinced that what I'm doing is right. Like, there are downsides to the other approach. There are downsides to this approach. I suspect that only one of the two is the correct one, or maybe it's even a third one. But you know what? Just to get something going, I don't know. Let's see how far we can get. Well, worst case, if I stop here, in any case, I think that the correct next move is to reply to Veka in that issue and talk about what I discovered and see if that makes sense. So we have an include. We want to test if include dot kind dot is framework. If it's not, continue, skip. If it is a framework, then we want to say, okay, does it contain this framework name? Oh, wait, this is also interesting because we need to also loop over those. So var name idx. We start with this and then we say while name idx is lower than d.framework names.items.len, Now we need to check if the path exists. So, hello. Um, I think we need to see how some of the search is done in here and copy some of these ideas. Scene frameworks. If a normal include is later shadowed by a system include, remove the normal include instead. Huh. Okay. Yeah, check framework there. So how do we do all these things? Which allocators are we using? There we go. We're using a buffer first allocator, making up a name, deferring a free, and then we're calling find.check. That's also another thing that we want to do. Okay, so put this stuff in here for now. Where is this? 2024 in compilation.zig. Okay. Then it's called find.check. Resolve paths. I don't think we should do this. Their name at source from extra. Normalize path. Wait, are we not actually checking that the path exists whatsoever? Wait, no, wait. Replace scalar. Normalize path. Wait, are we not supposed to? I assume that this thing was supposed to somehow look whether like some kind of file existed or not. Add source path from extra. Oh, there we go. Open file, close, add source from file. Okay. So yeah, we are looking at that framework. There's a name with the fur free. And then we want to check if this directory exists. So how do we do it? Compilation.cwd.open file. So d.comp.cwd.open there. Okay, subpath is framework lookup. option is guess default options. So this is try. Well, actually, more than try. This is like catch, error, um, switch error, and I don't know. We'll see what the errors are. But if it did well, if everything went well and we succeeded, then we want to do name idx plus plus, and then we want to append this new path. We want to append this new path. So we want to do. Oh, you know what? Yeah, we kind of would like to append this new path, but at the same time, we don't want to mutate this so that we don't want to mutate this. No, I think we want a temporary array. Either that or we don't use a for loop. Yeah, we don't use a for loop. We use a while loop here as well. And it is also wrong. Because we don't want to reevaluate this. Okay, that allows us to append this thing. So here, if this went well, also I think that we can do this. That's fine, I think. And I think that this is also fine. Then here I want to do do we try stuff? Yeah, we do try stuff. So try yeah, it includes the append. Yeah, essentially one of these guys. Yeah. What's the path though? That is a problem because right now we need to allocate essentially a new path. Here we just keep appending stuff that we get from CLI. You know what? Would be nice if this GPA was an arena. Is this GPA by any chance an arena? Oh, well, we have an arena, so I think that's what we should do. So path should be d.comp. Actually, no, it's oh god, std dot. We still have fs. Yeah. Path dot join. Yeah. Allocator d.comp.arena paths. Mm, mm, yeah, that looks good. Paths are going to be include dot path followed by, oh shit, I think we want join FMT, or do we? No, no, that's fine. We want this path followed by framework lookup. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Well, we'll be able to take a look at it in a moment. We take a look at framework lookup. Here we need a try. So it goes in the arena. So this is all well and good. This we need to close. Okay, this kind of looks correct. So we keep looping over the original includes. Oh, you know what though? Here's a problem. I think that we need to swap the inner and outer loop, because every time we look at a new framework name, we kind of want to reset the search. Well, we want to start again from zero. Yeah, I think that unfortunately this has to go outside and this has to go kind of inside, something like this. We need more adjustments. So let's look at it again. So this goes on the outside. This goes up here. This goes on the outside. This goes on the inside. This goes here. Every time there's a new name, this goes also here, I think. Oh, this goes here. This goes up here. I think this also goes down here. Okay, let's see. So for every name, grab the name, start the includes at 0. We search again from the top. Keep looping the includes. Any chance that SCDI invented to be feature complete for 017, sorry. I don't think so, because 017 is gonna be released pretty soon. It's gonna be a very short release cycle, and I believe that the main things for 017 are gonna be the build system change that Andrew is working on and upgrading to the latest version of LLVM. So I think these are the two main features. I don't think that a working SCDIO.evented is a blocker for that release. Also, keep in mind that when we say IO.evented, you're essentially saying that you're expecting it to work for Linux, macOS, and Windows. So at the very least, so like it's like 3 things at least, not just one. Okay, so grab the name, start from the top, grab the include information. If it is not a framework, we skip it. If it is a framework, make a temporary buffer. Also, I just realized that I'm editing a version of ROCC that is not 0.16 compatible anymore. Oh my lord. Uh, so we'll need to test this on 0.17 something. Okay. One problem at a time. So we make a dot framework string. We try to open a directory. If it doesn't work, I guess essentially what we're expecting here is that if it is errors, something like not found, um, then we continue. If it's another kind of error, then we need to react differently. That being said, I don't remember if not found is the actual error name, and I want to see what the other errors look like. So, okay, fine. Uh, um, so if we do find a directory, we add it as a framework. Actually, is it a framework or is it a system framework? I don't know. Maybe we should inherit include.kind. Let's inherit include.kind. And then we plop it there. We plop it there using GPA, which here GPA is not a real thing. This is d.comp.gpa, but we use the arena for sieving the path. Okay, we are missing error management. So if it's one of these other errors, we should probably have a error message. And we are missing also the, if it's this, then we want to break. We want to break, or rather we want to continue the outer loop, right? So we want to continue outer. So we want to continue outer, but if this while loop is exhausted, so we just don't find it, we need an else. Okay. Now, if I try to run this, unfortunately, if I try to build it, it's going to complain because I have the wrong version of Zig. I need 0.17. I expect it to complain about the missing errors that I'm not handling. There we go. Oh god. This means that my version of Zig is not in line with the version of Zig that RCC is using. Yeah, they are using this one. Okay, let's ask this specific version Zig up. Okay, so now the error should only hopefully be the one that I have introduced. There we go. So not found. What are the errors that we're getting? Access denied, bad path name, cancelled, file not found, name too long. Okay, so it's file not found, even if it's the directory. So file not found, continue, else uh, return error. Are we good? No, because I changed the return error set. So the errors that we can return are fatal error, out of memory, write failed. So we turn those into fatal errors, I guess. Maybe. Let's see what that looks like now. Clear the close once IO. That makes sense. Okay, we built. That's a success. Now here's the problem. Because I made the mistake of applying this change, which to be fair, I could backport to a previous commit. So if this doesn't work easily, I'm gonna backport it to an older commit. So if these um if this works, then I should be able here to do zig build fork translate C fork ROCC. If I'm getting some weirdo compile error because something in translate C needs to be updated, I am instantly reverting back to 016. There we go. We do not get that. And could not find framework. What? That surprises me. I have a bug in my code. What's going on? Wait a second. How is name ever going to be that? What the fuck? Wait a second. Could not. So this is my panic. I believe that this is the panic that I have introduced. How is name this? So for name to be this, I must have bungled the CLI parsing a bunch. Yeah. Oh boy. I did that indeed. Okay, in theory, with this, we should go back to the previous error or not. Type constantly does not support structure initialization. Oh shit, yeah, I did not fix this. Oh my god. These goes here. These goes here. There you go. And this goes back to being. This goes back to being path. And this goes to name. Okay. Okay, we're back to the AE issue. Now, in theory, we call link framework core services, and now we start stressing our new code because our new code was not kicking in. Let's see if now it does. It seems that it has changed. Now, okay, two things. One is, um, what are we doing in Translate C? Link framework. Yeah, we are still doing weird shit with link framework, so we don't do that anymore. Okay. Now expect my panic. There we go. That is good. So here we could not find framework core services, but I think it's because I have a bug. So I think that we're doing, so this is, I think, oh, that is, let's print the path they were trying to open so that we can see if we're doing something dumb in there. Do you have log? Oh, we don't have log. Okay. Okay, let's take a look. Framework test path, core services framework. Yeah, that's indeed dumb. Yeah. Yeah, that is indeed dumb. Because here, this should not just be an analog print of this. This needs to combine with the freaking include path, obviously. We are failing to do that. How does the other code do it? Like I would like to repeat the same pattern that other code does. I'm just failing at it hard. Find it dot check includer. Normalize path. Um, well, none of this seems particularly interesting. So I think we should do this. I think we should do alloc print. So essentially, we want to produce this name, yes, but we also want to concatenate the path. So we can do path join. Essentially this, I guess. Except that instead of framework lookup. No, you know what? You know what we can do in alternative? I think as an alternative, we can open two doors. I don't know what is better. composing a more complete path or doing two open syscalls? Probably, given how we are structuring this search, fewer syscalls the better. Okay, so let's do composition. So framework lookup is not an alloc print anymore, but it is a try std dot fs dot path dot join, or alternately fmt join. Why would fmt join help us? I think we could hack it with an fmt join. Okay, so if we hack it with an fmt join, then we can do this. Okay, let's see how this goes. Framework test path is this. Let's add some more prints in case we succeed. Yeah, path exists appending. Okay, I think the what we are missing is that here we need to also do this. Because when you search for the other things, you search them under frameworks. Oh, it still complains that AE was not found though. What's this buffer first allocator? Have you ever seen stack fallback allocator? Actually, you know what? In case that the answer is no, maybe not for you, but for somebody else. So we used to have stack fallback allocator. That is a pattern that you see used in C a lot, and it's actually not a bad idea. Basically, the way it works is that you have a limited size buffer that lives on the stack, and you want to use it as the memory for memory for allocating stuff in it. You know, maybe you're concatenating strings, maybe you're doing something more complicated. But the idea is this: you don't want to put a giant buffer on the stack because the stack has limited space. At the same time, um, if all you're doing is concatenating tiny strings, you would like to not have to resort to heap allocation for strings that are tiny, or again, it's an allocator. It's a bunch of memory, so you can use it also for other things other than concatenating strings. But concatenating strings are, I think, probably the quintessential example for this kind of stuff. So, what's a stack fallback allocator, or what is this pattern in general? The idea is you keep a tiny buffer on the stack, and that means that whenever those strings are tiny, the operation is sped up because you're not doing syscalls, you're not doing heap allocation, you're not, doing quote unquote garbage collection, like you're not freeing stuff that you allocated on the heap. So you avoid all that extra overhead. But in cases, like let's say that you loop on a bunch of identifiers and they're usually tiny, and so you can do it this way, but occasionally, from time to time, you might get a big identifier that is too big to stay on the stack. So what you want to do is that in that case, you fall back to using the heap. So we used to have stack fallback allocator that did this for you. You instantiated a stack fallback allocator, which would put on the stack a buffer of a size that you decide. But that has to be known at comp time because you can only put on the stack comp time known stuff, or rather stuff that has a comp time known size. Um, and then it internally did what I just described. So as long as it had available memory on the stack, that's what it would use. And then when that ran out, it would start allocating on the heap. Buffer first allocator is a generalization of that concept. So essentially, stack fallback allocator has been reworked and renamed to buffer first allocator. Buffer first allocator is slightly more flexible because the previous version was hard coding the fact that the buffer was on the stack and that it was a piece of memory that was owned by that structure. The new buffer first allocator instead accepts a buffer as input. So then it's up to you. Like you decide where to put that buffer. If you put the buffer on the stack, then it is going to be a buffer that lives on the stack and you're using it with the pattern that I just described. But now that you have control over where the buffer comes from, you can also be you can be fancier with it because now it's now you own where that memory comes from. So it might be that you care about using memory that isn't from the stack necessarily, or alternatively, it's a definition that you want to also, share with some other allocators. In any case, it's now more flexible. So that's the general idea. I just found out that if using debug print, panic, or log, it adds 130 bytes to the final executable. Does this have room to improve? Yes, it does. I think that this number should go down as the new I/O interface gets refined. But be aware that it is probably not going to go back to the value to what you would get from Zig before 0.16. Because the new I/O machinery is a little bit more complicated than it was before. That being said, I believe that status quo is a temporary thing. Like I believe that Jacobly has been working on it and it has already improved in I don't know if it has committed these changes already, but in any case, there have been discussions on how to improve this and it is going to improve. But if you're looking at using the normal STD IO stuff and you want, the smallest executable possible, that's not the way anymore. That's it. Hmm. Apparently, people on Hacker News have been told that we've been spammed. there's a thread on Hacker News about this, and also at the same time, it seems that the code bear people have already fixed it. I think this number needs to be updated. It's not 3K anymore, but yeah. The build system, any plan to make it easy to use for most users, but keep powerful enough for complex use cases? What do you mean? It's already super easy to use for most users. No, I mean, the build system is uh, the build system is definitely it definitely has a few sources of complexity in it. One is how it itself works and is designed. The fact that it is ultimately a declarative um, system where you don't imperatively, kick off execution of a task, but instead you define a build graph, um, that is a source of complexity, but that's how it has to be. Um, then some of its complexity is because of how Zig works. So you need to understand what's a Zig module, um, and how a Zig package works, and how you get stuff from a Zig package. That has some complexity in it, and it is also not set in stone. Uh, and lastly, and I think that this is by far the biggest chunk of complexity. If you're touching C stuff, you need to know how C stuff is built. There is no way for you to use a C project and not know about C macros and import paths and static versus linking, static versus dynamic linking, and etc. etc. So uh, that is not something that the build system can do anything about. That is why the C ecosystem is what it is. So if you add all these three things together, then yeah, the build system is not all that simple. But I think that in good part it's kind of inevitable. So you use Golang. Yeah, use Golang, and yeah, it doesn't have a build system really, which is awesome. But then good luck trying to interoperate with C stuff. It's a huge pain in the ass. And Go has some bolted on after the fact crappy like magic comment system that is horribly incomplete. So uh, here's what I can tell you. If you go to ziglang.org, you go to the learn section, there is a guide for the build system that tells you how to do some stuff with the build system. If you go to youtube.com and search Zig build, the first video is by yours truly, and this is an explanation of the basics of the build system. So like I would consider this a good entry point if you don't know much about the build system. Um, and if you're kinky and you're into interoperating with C projects, go to github.com/all your code base, where we have more than 100 repositories that show you how to build C projects. So this one is by yours truly. Opus. I also did Aaron Noise. So yeah, that's what I can tell you. Oh no, I sent just a letter. Well, this is it. Okay, so it seems like we're not doing a particularly good job here. I don't know what the heck is going on. Let's do this. Appending d dot includes dot items at d dot includes dot items dot len -1 dot path. Okay, let's see what path we end up appending. Appending /applications xcode contents developer platform developer SDKs. Oh, So yeah, we're fucking this up, huh? A bunch of times. Obviously because we turned that into a path. So now we don't do this anymore. You just want to append frameworks to it. Yo, we did it. No, the next problem is this fucking stuff. So we did it. It worked. We successfully resolved well, the other stuff. And now what's happening here is that we're hitting these syntax here where I believe that this is a signature for a Apple, like this is like a custom extension of C to define lambda blocks, BPT boopy, I don't know, like some stuff that Apple has come up with to extend C with essentially lambdas, which then this thing I believe is leveraged by Objective C heavily, and this is not currently supported by Arrow. Is this the right way of doing it? I have no freaking clue. I don't know, but we can make APR for it. That's for sure. Okay, this is good. We ended up being able to make some progress here. Okay. So how do we do this? I think the way we do it is that we go to GitHub, Vexu ROCC. We fork this bad boy. I'm logged out apparently. Why am I logged out? Darwin toolchain for SDK paths. Okay, this is definitely above my pay grade. One sec. Okay. So thankfully, yeah, this is, I believe, that thing that we hit. Anyway, uh, so I think we need to add a line for Dash framework. Is it a link option? Where is Dash framework listed in like ZigCC? I'm confused. Is there really no Dash framework? Wait. Yeah. Okay. So here we have it. Oh, look at what we have in here. Framework, needed framework, weak framework. You know what? We could literally copy this. So, where is the stuff listed though? Per module link option. Okay, so it's a link option. Oh, this goes first. Then these guys are not sorted alphabetically, man. Or maybe they are. DLS. No, it's. I don't know. I'm gonna put them at the end. Well, that is bad. Oh, I see how Veka was dealing it with it. So maybe I guess we can do the same. There you go. Although now that I think about this, these are translate C options. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, here we. Okay, I don't know. Let's put that there. Because here we are not really keeping track whether it's needed, not needed. We just really do not care whatsoever. That being said, for the whole compiler pipeline, then somebody needs to care about this stuff though. But we're at least we're solving in this from an import perspective. I don't know. Okay, this is good enough for me, I guess. Take this out. Take this out. The github.com Christoph IT ROCC. Do we not do the .git thing? Is that it? Did I fail to fork this? Also, what the fuck is GitHub doing? Why is this shown to me like this? You know what? I probably pressed that button, but then I never committed to it. Fine. Okay. Okay. Wait, how the heck is everything fading? Oh, oof. Right. Yeah. Okay. So, well, this is it. This was a tiny adventure. I think we reached a happy ending. I actually was not confident at all that we would be able to get this far. Did we actually make any real progress? Like, did we do actually useful work? Um, Definitely debatable. But I think I learned something, hopefully. And and we have a tiny, at least we have a tiny proof of concept that um that this is a thing that you can do. So I don't know, baby steps. Um, well, I think this might be it for me. I know that this is another not super long streaming session, but we set out to do one thing and we did it. That was some kind of success. And yeah, you know what? I'm also gonna spam this in the ZSF Zulip, and I don't know. So sorry, X2, you just arrived, and I think I'm about to close the stream. Unless something else comes to mind that I want to do right now. But I mean, it's a Saturday. I'll take it easy. Yep. Thank you all for hanging out. And let me see if there's anybody else that I want to raid. I think I'm just gonna call it a day.